Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of the Coach's Approach podcast, where we take an inside look at the high school coaching world. For you that don't know, I'm your host, George Gresco. Today's episode of Force to be Reckoned With is brought to you by Coach's Dry Rub, the All-American Rub. Lay it on thick until it sticks. The Well Barn Grill in Kirtland. Come in for some great food and a good time. Anthony's Family Restaurant in Eastlake on the corner of 91 and Vine Street, where together is our favorite place to be. Open for dine-in, carry-out, and curbside pickup. Last but not least, G&G Printing. Get your custom apparel printed in 7 to 10 days or less. Dominate your design. Today in the coach's booth, we have Eastlake North head girls basketball coach, Coach Paul Force. Sorry about, man, I'm messing up already. I was doing so well. But yeah, we have Coach Paul Force in the coach's booth. Coach Force, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, George. Appreciate you having me on, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to take care of our fellow Rangers.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to start off the interview with your first head coaching gig over at Ledgemont High School over in Geauga County. You were hired at Ledgemont in 2007. You were there for only one season, racking up a 15-7 record overall. What was the reasoning for leaving Edgewood after only one season? Because it was a pretty successful season at 15-7.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, Ledgemont is no longer a school. You know, Ledgemont closed up, and their students kind of absorbed into other districts around that area.
Yeah, they combined with Burton over there.
Yeah, quite a few of them ended up going over to Berkshire. But you know what? That wasn't the plan for me to be there 1 year. Certainly. I was very fortunate to walk into a great situation. Ron Carter was the coach before me, and he stayed on staff to kind of help assimilate me to Division IV sports because it's a different world than where I had coached JV as far as the community, as far as the kids you're dealing with, and the multi-sport athletes, and what you could and couldn't do in the off season. So I had planned to be there between like 3 and 4 years, and they knew that going in. But things don't always go as planned. I left that year at North, and shortly after the season ended in 2008, I started to hear some rumblings that a head coaching job might open up there, and it was a little quicker than I expected. It broke my heart at such a young age to stand in front of all those girls that I had just built relationships with. And
absolutely,
I thought, I'm going to be here for the next few years. Like, let's get it going. And to stand there, I remember in the small classroom out at Ledgemont High School, it was a difficult thing for me. It certainly wasn't what I intended to do, but it brought me to where I'm at.
Absolutely. And like I said, God works in mysterious ways, and everything's kind of worked out for you now. And we'll get into that. Being the head coach at Ledgemont for that one season, did that prepare you to become the head coach at North?
I think it did in a huge way. Yeah, just making the day-to-day decisions that a head coach has to make. And this is something ever since a young age. This is something I saw myself doing. My dad was a high school girls basketball coach and a health teacher. I grew up in the gym at girls basketball camps, so I kind of saw myself moving this direction my entire life. But having that year to be able to go through the prep and the film study at a higher level, and being able to feel a little bit more responsible for the X's and O's than I did as a JV coach, it for sure prepared me to come into the situation I did at North, which again was a great situation. I was coming in with 9 seniors my first year coming back to North. So
yeah, that's always nice. Walking in with 9
very
seniors.
Fortunate.
Sure. Are there any shout outs that you would like to give to the people that kind of gave you your first opportunity over at over at Ledgemont? I know the school doesn't exist, but any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, definitely. Paula Ruck, the athletic director there, for believing in me, first head coaching job. And then Ron Carter and Pat Sidley were my assistants there. And they, being from that area their whole life, and coaching and teaching there, they were really able to open my eyes to, the expectations there, because I had been a JV coach at Chardon. I'd been a JV coach at North, and Ledgemont was quite different, but I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I wish it would have worked out for a few more years, but like you said, God works in ways that we can't really understand all the time. We just got to do our best when we're in the moment.
Right. In 2008, you got hired as the head girls basketball coach at Eastlake North. Earlier on in your career, as you just mentioned, you were the JV coach at North for 2 seasons, but then you came back to North after your 1-year stint at Ledgemont. Was it kind of strange transitioning from being an assistant at North and then being their head coach 2 years later?
It was different. I don't know that strange is the word that I would use to describe it, but it definitely was a change. There was a lot of excitement in that senior class, the 8 or 9 girls that were there, because I had coached most of them for a couple of years at the JV level. We had a lot of success at the JV level, but from coaching that success at freshman and JV level, that does not equate to varsity success. I'm always quick to let freshmen and JV players know, the best kids in your class, they're not playing freshman and JV. So eventually, you're going to meet them on that varsity court. But there was a lot of excitement from the girls and the parents, a lot of talent. The only 2 6'3" girls that I've ever coached happened to be in that same class, Sam Blazetic and Samantha McKinney. So that helped a little bit. The size.
I was a freshman at North when Sam McKinney and Blazetic were seniors that year, so it was fun to watch those girls. Man, I'm looking up as a freshman. I'm like, these girls are giants, Yeah.
So my wife and I were talking about that a little bit earlier today. You were 2013 or 2014?
So I graduated in 2012. Yeah, 2012.
Oh, you're 2012. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So you were there when those guys were there, but it was exciting to come back. Definitely a jump in competition level from what I was used to at Ledgemont. But that PAC at the time, the Premier Athletic Conference, that was a style of ball I was very used to from being at Chardon with Coach Daryl Haskins, and then being with Ryan Tyna at North. I had seen all those teams, those coaches, those styles. So I really felt I was at home, where I was meant to be.
Absolutely. When you first got hired at North, what was the first thing you wanted to do to establish your program?
The first thing that I think of is the first thing that we talk about, on day 1 of our season now. And that's, creating a family atmosphere. You spend a lot of time together. So your sisters, and you don't always have to get along. You don't always have to like each other, but you got to love each other. You got to have each other's back.
Sure.
And we really build our program and our basketball family on 5 things. TLSTE is our hashtag. We talk about trust, love, strength, togetherness, and enthusiasm. And those, I think, are 5 pillars of a strong family, of a strong school, of a strong business, of a strong team. If we can have those things, then to me, wins or losses aside, it's going to be a special experience for the kids.
And, I didn't have this on the script, but you kind of brought it up. When you guys break a huddle, you say something along the lines of, I could be very wrong, oosh. What does that mean? It's something close to that. Am I right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, over the years, I bet you we got a lot of players right now that aren't even familiar with what that is. But where that comes from is a camp that I worked when I was younger called Yes, I Can, for Stan Kellner, who was one of the most inspirational and just most genuine people that I've ever been around. He's passed away a few years back, but he was one of those guys that, and this was pre cell phones and social media. But when you spoke to him, he really made you feel that you were the most important person in the world in that moment. He was always super present. The eye contact and the way he spoke to people was something I truly admire. But anyways, with the whoosh, I'm surprised you remember that.
I remember things like that.
Yeah, that comes from, being able to clap up and embrace any challenges that you're dealing with at the time, any mistakes you might have made in the game, anything else that's in your mind, and then bring all those things together and kind of whoosh them away and be able to be present and be in the moment. I'll tell you, I haven't explained that to a team in probably about 4 or 5 years. So I'm going to have a lot of girls listening that are going to be like, oh, that's why we do that. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
No, absolutely. I've always wondered that, because I always see it when you guys broke huddles. So I always thought that was kind of cool. You have now been the head girls basketball coach at Eastlake North now for 14 years and counting. Your overall record at North is 235-84. How have you been able to sustain success year in and year out?
Yeah, multifaceted, but success at the high school level starts with you got to have some talented kids. I think it's a fine mixture of talent. It's a mixture of coaching staff, the environment and the family environment that kids are coming from, the support you get from families in the community. I could rattle off 5, 6, 7, 8 of the top area girls basketball players that have come through the halls at North over the years. So that certainly helps make my job a little bit easier. But also just, consistency in staff. Have not had to hire a lot of, freshman coaches. I think I've had 3 different freshman coaches in 14 years.
Oh, that's
and I've
fantastic.
had 2 JV coaches and 2 varsity assistants.
Yeah, right.
So consistency in staff has been huge. And just our philosophy and our message has really stayed consistent over the years. It's changed X and O wise as the game has changed. But as far as our culture, our environment, our TLSTE, that's something that I think young girls really, really buy into.
Right.
They want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and they want to know that they're valued. And we try as a staff to really make sure that girls understand that, whether they're number 1 on the depth chart or whether they're number 12 and 15.
No, absolutely. Now, with that being said, have you ever felt, since you've won almost every season you've been at North, I don't think you've ever had a losing record, from what I've seen. But have you ever felt any pressures or expectations from outside sources, just like, the outside noise? Have you ever felt those kind of pressures?
I would say really early on, probably first 3 or 4 years, maybe, but not maybe in the last, 8 to 10 years. I feel very comfortable with who I am and who our coaches are on staff, and my message and what I think is important. To me, I think high school sports at the level that I'm at are really all about, life experiences, life lessons, shared experiences with people, and gaining relationships that are going to last forever, and dealing with adversity, how you deal with things when you don't get what you want, and really wins and losses aside and records aside, to me in life and in sports, what is most important is not where you end up, but is who is sitting next to you when you end up there. If you get to a level of success and you walk into your house or you walk into the locker room and you're by yourself, I think you're going to feel a little bit empty.
Right.
And if you put yourself out there for some big goals and you come up short and you walk into your house or you walk into your locker room and you're surrounded by people that they were right there with you, you're going to feel something special in your heart. So to me, I try to focus on those things, and it really alleviates any outside noise.
No, absolutely. I think in every podcast that I've had so far, everyone has mentioned that they coach for the kids. What happens to them after basketball's over? Because it's eventually going to end. What's going to happen after high school? And I think that every episode that we've had so far, every coach has mentioned that. So I thank you for saying that once again. We talked about this a little bit. You and your staff have coached some really outstanding players. Many have went on to play in college. Sam McKinney, Sam Blazetta, Kelsey Paholke, Lindsey Engelbrecht, Sam Perosco, Anuan Lyons, Destiny Leo, Abby Carter, Avril Drew. Those were the names you kind of sent me. How do you prepare your players to play at the next level and to be successful?
I think we really try to do things program-wise like a small college as much as we can. I've been fortunate through camps and relationships over the years to get to know, some pretty good high school coaches and several college coaches and kind of pick their brains from time to time. I mean, kind of like what you're doing here, just, coaches talking with coaches. I think that's how we all kind of hone our craft and figure out, what's important to us. But, to be able to run things as far as the off season, as far as the film and the scouting reports and the expectations in and outside the classroom and the gym, I think that has really gotten girls ready for that college level. But college is a different animal to them. We've sent girls away to colleges, and depending on their situation, it could be a great experience, could be a challenging experience, but almost every single one of them's come back and said, there's pros and cons to it, but man, there's nothing like playing high school sports. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think a lot of people, parents and kids, I think a lot of people look past that maybe a little bit and they think about, man, when I go to college or when I get that scholarship, and then it's kind of one of those, we don't know what we got until it's gone
Sure.
type of deals, so I really encourage parents and kids to embrace the opportunity to be a little, local hero in their community, be in your local paper. Ours is like the News
Yeah.
Herald. Ohio
Yeah.
Varsity does a lot of work, but it's pretty cool, to see younger kids in the community showing up at your games and,
Yeah.
waving at you when you come out and wanting your autograph, stuff like that. There's something special about the high school coaching world.
Absolutely. And there's one particular girl that I want to talk about a little bit. She's North's all-time leading scorer. She was an All-Ohioan while at North, and I believe she should have been Ohio's Miss Basketball that her senior season, I believe. I'm talking about Destiny Leo. She's lighting up right now at Cleveland State. What is so special about a player like Destiny Leo?
Extremely physically, gifted and talented as far as her length and her strength. And she's worked hard in the weight room since probably about sophomore year to get her body to where it's at. But the most unique thing about Destiny to me is that, this is a once in a lifetime, type of a kid, I believe, from a coaching perspective. But she's really the only girls basketball player that I've ever been around that really sees basketball as a true outlet in her life. It's a passion. It's something she's doing all the time. We have girls that will come to lifting sessions, to four-man groups, to open gyms, to summer league games. But that was a kid, whether we had basketball or not, she had a basketball in her hand and she was finding somewhere to go, work on her shot, work on her game. It's just something that ever since she was young, I think she's seen basketball as kind of a comfort zone. When she put that ball in her hands, whether she was on the courts outside of Willowick Middle School or whether she was in a gym somewhere, I think she feels a sense of belonging and a sense of calm. It's just, it's what she was born to do. And it's been really cool to watch her have as much success as she's had at the college level. This year, they let everybody into their games at CSU free, no charge. So
Yeah.
My wife and kids and I, we probably saw about 8-9 games.
And I was just about to say, you talked about relationships. I'm pretty sure last weekend or a week or two ago that you were just down watching her play. I saw you took your sons and they had hats on, all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's still part of the family, and she did some incredible things at North. I also think she has a really good perspective of embracing the moment and staying in the moment. When her career was over, I think she walked away when her career at North was over. I'm sorry. I think she walked away, with no regrets, knowing that she put everything she had into, especially those last few years. And like I try to preach, the people that were around her were more important than where she ended up. 2 times in a row with Destiny, we ended up 1 game short of going to the state Final Four. We lost to Glen Oak in the regional finals back-to-back years. But as devastating as that could be to some people in the moment, I always really admired, how she handled that. You didn't see, tears from her. Clearly there was disappointment, but she knew that she put everything into those years and into those games, and she was okay with whatever the result was.
Absolutely. Here's a little tough question. If you were to take only one attribute and instill it into all of your players, what would you say that one attribute would be?
In a team sport, yeah, because there's a lot of great attributes, but I'm also a believer that as a coach, if everything's important, then nothing's important. I do think you need to be able to hone in. So almost everything we talk about comes back to trust, love, strength, togetherness, and enthusiasm. But that one attribute to me, it's really difficult because everybody's coming from families where they're the most important kid on the team. And I tell kids that when you go home, mom and dad are going to care more about you than everybody else on the team. And that's how it should be. I hope everybody's coming from a family like that. But that attribute to me would be selflessness, being able to put other people and bigger goals ahead of your own goals. That's such a hard thing. It's such a hard thing because everybody wants to be successful. Everybody's parents want them to be successful. They want them to score points. They want them to play. They want them to start. But to me, being a servant leader and being selfless is something that is going to take you a lot further in life than the game of basketball or any sport. is going to take you. So if we had 12 selfless girls that really loved each other and cared more about, the team than their own individual accolades, and we've had a lot of that over the years. We've been blessed that girls have bought into that message. At the same time, it is easier, I'll say, it is easier for kids and parents to buy into that message when you are having win-loss success.
Sure.
I embrace the adversity and the losses. And one of my favorite points of every season is whenever we lose our first game. I really love walking into the locker room and just feeling the energy and looking at kids' faces and seeing how people react the next day at practice.
Sure.
You can tell if there's finger pointing or if kids are looking in the mirror before the magnifying glass and looking at themselves, if they show up humble and hungry to get better. I really embrace that first loss because I've never coached a season where we haven't lost a game, so that loss is going to happen, whether it's game 1 or whether it's game 15. And how are we going to respond? What kind of a team are we going to be? I like that first loss.
No, I love that answer, Coach. You get me fired up over here.
Yeah.
In your 15 total years of being a head coach, as we mentioned, you were at Ledgemont and now North. You have 8 conference titles, 2 district titles, 2 trips to the regional finals. You're 26-4 all-time over rival Willoughby South. You've been the coach of the year multiple times. But this past season, you hit a milestone in your coaching career. You got your 250th win as a head coach, and you got that win under very dramatic fashion. Can you talk a little bit about that game and how special of a moment that was for you?
Yeah, the 250th win was a sectional final win in overtime against Mentor, and we had trailed by, I think, 6 points with 2.5 minutes left. So it looked a little bit bleak. My younger son Logan, he struggles. He's 8. He struggles with some of our losses, handling them emotionally. So I know he was hiding out in the hallway with about 2-3 minutes left and kind of peeking in to see what was going on. Then we got him back in the gym when we got to overtime. But I'll tell you what's interesting about that question is you probably did not know this. Our first loss this past season was in game 2, and it was at Mentor.
Okay. I did not know.
Then we got another look at Mentor in that sectional final coming to our place. And that was something I know the girls and our coaching staff was really excited about, that opportunity, because we knew they were quite a bit different than game 2. We felt we were quite a bit different. We learned a lot of things from that first loss,
Sure.
So to have the kids come through and make some big plays. Maya Latham is a junior, and she hit a monster shot in overtime. That was like a signature moment in her career to this point to put us up, I think 39-36, and kind of swung momentum in our favor. And yeah, it was a special game. We got the opportunity to move on to districts, winning that game. And Mentor was a tough team. They had 7 or 8 seniors this year. And in basketball, when you're going against a lot of on-court experience and senior leadership, that's challenging when you're on the other end of that.
Sure. Now I've heard that you have a pretty awesome assistant coach by the name of Crystal Force. For listeners, Crystal Force is Paul's wife. Coach, what is it like coaching alongside your wife day in and day out?
Yeah, Crystal has been our JV coach for 13 years, I think every year, except my first one. And then our varsity assistant is Amanda Blazetic, who's a North graduate.
Yep.
And our freshman coach is Tim Klein. He's done it for several years also. So that consistency is huge. But as far as with Crystal, with my wife, she's very, very intense. She's a high energy, very competitive coach. She really takes the job of getting JV girls ready for the varsity level. She takes it very seriously. And she gets after them. She believes in them. She was pushed by her father and his coaching style, and she has adopted that to her own coaching style. It's a little bit, allows for some humor and some back and forth. I think the girls enjoy seeing Crystal and I kind of nip back and forth at each other. She'll always get fired up because I always end a drill, like a JV varsity drill.
Yeah.
We usually end with some kind of varsity level success, whether it's us getting a bucket or getting a stop. So sometimes that gets under her skin a little bit, or I might change the practice schedule from what it says on the sheet. And that throws her off a little bit. So we enjoy the back and forth. And we met at a basketball camp. A lot of our life has been through basketball. So I really couldn't imagine doing what I do without my wife and my kids
Sure.
in the gym with me. We talk about family, and I really take that to heart.
Yep.
It would be hard to talk about family if my family weren't there, and I felt like I was missing out on things. So
Right.
she's done a great job. She raises our kids the 5-6 months that I'm wrapped up in basketball, and she does a great job making my job as a varsity coach a lot easier, because those kids have been pushed and those kids are ready, when they get up to the varsity level.
Sure. And you mentioned Crystal's intense. Here's a thought that I always have remembered about Crystal. She was coaching JV basketball when she was pregnant with one of your boys. And I remember she's yelling. I'm like, this baby's going to come out a lot faster.
Yeah,
But I do remember
joke.
that.
That was a joke that we said several times with her. We always had to have the towel ready when Coach K was 8-9 months pregnant. You never knew when that water was going to burst. So,
Too
but yeah,
funny.
she knows one way. She pushes them hard. I think she's had a lot of growth over the years, and become hard with a heart. At the same
Right.
time, like, those girls know that Coach K will do anything for
Sure.
them, and she loves them. And if you just come watch a game and see her intensity, you might not know that relationship that she has with them. But you can treat kids that way and push them when they know how much you love and you care about them. It goes back to that, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And, nobody's got a bigger heart than she does. And those girls know that.
Right. Now, how do you two separate your coaching life from your guys' personal life? Is there a time where you're not talking basketball? Or I know you're a basketball family. Is there a time where you put the whistle down and it's family time? Or is it just, all basketball all the time?
Yeah, she's a lot better at that aspect than I am, and she does a pretty good job of keeping me balanced and in check. We do some things with the kids as far as getting away in the summers. We both
Sure.
teach, so we're blessed to have a similar schedule to our boys. We'll go to Cape May, New Jersey for a week. We'll go to Myrtle Beach. One thing Crystal and I have started doing the last 5 or 6 years is we go to Vegas every summer
No,
for
nice.
4 or 5 days, which is a nice little getaway just to kind of be by ourselves. We're blessed that we have family members that don't mind taking the boys in for a couple of days.
Sure.
But we do, we get away from basketball when we can. And I think Crystal's done a good job of helping me with that. But it's definitely a huge part of our life. It's a huge part of the boys' life.
Sure.
They've grown up in the gym. She grew up in the gym. I grew up in the gym. Her dad was a coach growing up. My dad was a coach. So we're both kind of cut from the teaching and coaching cloth, and basketball brought us together. So it's definitely something that's going to stay a part of our lives.
Sure. And as we mentioned, you have 2 sons that also love the game of basketball. You got to give them a shout out.
Sure. Yeah, Jordan's 11. Logan is 8. They're both 3-sport athletes now. They're going to school at Kirtland, which is a great community. They got great sports programs out here, so we're happy to have them here. And they love the girls. They love the program. They get very attached with certain classes. I tell you, Jordan, this year we lost to Hoban, who was 2nd ranked in the state.
Yep.
And he came up to me after the game. We're walking. It's a long walk to the locker room at Ravenna. And he's like, Dad, can I talk to the seniors after you're done in there? And I was kind of like, well, I like to kind of wrap it up, bud, and say the last things for the season. I said, but why don't you send me a text? You get your thoughts together and I'll forward that on to the seniors, and his message to the seniors, thanking them for everything they've done. And most importantly, for being a friend to him and being there for him. And that just kind of made me emotional when I read it and I passed it on, because he gets it that relationships matter most. It wasn't about winning the district. It wasn't about winning the conference or going to the state tournament. It was about forming those bonds and that relationship. And, I think he gets that. And I think Logan's starting to get that too at 8. So it's cool to see this side of it. I don't coach them in basketball. I just go and I get to be a dad and watch. But it's certainly very rewarding, to be on the parent end of it for the first time.
Sure. No, that's awesome. That's so cool that, they're at practices, they're at games, and they get attached just like you guys do. That's pretty cool. Coach, as we wrap things up, I kind of did something special for you because I think you deserve it. And I love everything you stand for, but I reached out to many of your former players over the past couple of days, and they kind of have a message for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And but some of their messages, it's kind of funny, as we were talking, their messages hit on almost everything that you have said. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you, and I'll kind of vanish from here for a second, and then we'll see you here in a few minutes.
Coach Force has left an everlasting impact on my life. Although I'm sure one day I'll forget about the plays, the scouting reports, and that you should dive in left when the ball is swung, the lessons Coach Force taught me off the floor is what I'll never forget. Coach Force taught me about shelf lives. Everything we are doing in life will come to an end eventually, so it is very important to enjoy the moment that you are in and make the absolute most out of it, because one day it'll be gone and you'll be wishing for it back. I truly appreciate everything Coach Force has taught me, and he will forever have a resonating impact on my life.
My name is Ananda Lyons. I went to Eastlake North from 2014 to 2018. I played all 4 years for Eastlake North. One way I can say Coach Force impacted my life, he's just had a lot of phrases that they kind of stick with me. It was always the moving with a sense of urgency, moving like you got a purpose. There was it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
My name is Katie Braun, and Coach Force coached me in basketball my sophomore through senior year of high school. Coach Force definitely impacted my life, and I would say some of the biggest ways were in my mindset and how I view things and think about things in my life. He was a big quotes person and had motivational quotes and sayings all over the locker room, all over papers he gave us, and just in words that he would say to us. And many of those quotes have stuck with me to this day, that I say to other people maybe when they're having a hard time or need some motivation. And to this day, I am still a huge quotes and sayings person because of that. And also another big thing that Coach Force had done was taught me how to become a part of something that was bigger than myself. I was not going to be the player that was getting a lot of playing time, and I knew that because my skill set wasn't up there with a lot of the other girls on my team. And I learned how to not get upset by that, but to really realize what my role was in the team, and that it might have not always been on the court, but there were other ways that I was a part of that program, and I had other beneficial, positive things to offer to the program. And it just really inspired me to become a coach and a teacher, which I do to this day. So thank you, Coach Force.
Hello, my name is Lindsey Engelbrecht. Coach Force was my high school coach from 2010 to 2014, but his impact on my life has stretched far beyond just those 4 years in high school. The thing about Coach Force is that he genuinely loves and values creating a family culture in his program. He creates this community within our community, just for basketball, just for girls basketball, and that's really cool to see, and it's really cool to have been a part of that. Early on, he instilled an entire framework of positive mindset in me as a young player, and that instantly translated into my everyday life as a middle schooler, and it still does today as a 25-year-old adult. His impact has always been beyond basketball, though his passion and knowledge for the game is completely unmatched. He cares for each player he coaches, not just as a player, but as a human being. And you can really tell that from the outside and, being on the inside as a player. I think he shares the mental tools necessary to help us young girls achieve anything they set out to do in life, because he plants the seeds of confidence and positivity and mental toughness to push us young girls forward. And these messages really stick with us beyond basketball, all because this man, Coach Force, cares to be more than a basketball coach. In a way, I think he uses basketball as a language to spread these greater messages, life lessons and positive motivation for people. And at least that's what he's done for me. He's helped me reach athletic goals in my life I'm not sure I would have been able to reach with anyone else as my high school coach. And life lessons he's helped instill in me have helped me reach personal and professional goals, to this day. Coach Force and his family, Coach K and the boys and, his parents and their families will always have a special place in my heart. I will always, always appreciate everything they've done to help me become a better player and a better woman, and I will cherish my relationship with them forever.
Hey, Coach Force, it's Blaze. I just want to let you know how much you've impacted my life and many others ever since freshman year of high school basketball. I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for you. The dedication, the hardworking skills that I've got from you is incredible. I take that into my day-to-day life, even now as a mother. And what you do for young girls in the community, you're impacting people's life day to day, and we are so grateful to have you.
Coach, after watching some of these videos, hey, Crystal, how are you?
How are you?
Yeah, after watching some of these videos, I was getting a little choked up because after everything you kind of said and throughout the interview, I knew what they already said. So I'm like, man, gets you a little choked up, But is there anything you'd like to say after seeing that?
No, it's awesome. I mean, thank you to you for reaching out and contacting some of them, and it's cool that there was a girl there from the very first team that I coached at North. Well, a young woman now, and a young woman from not this year's team, but last year's team. So it's cool to see the stretch of years, and that consistent message that I referenced earlier. It definitely resonates to some, and it's more than about what we accomplish. It's what they can take, into their life. So those are some incredibly successful young ladies that you got a hold of. And I know there's, dozens more of them out there. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of that, of all that.
And, I had to start late last night. It was like 7 p.m. last night. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to some of these girls and see how quick they can get me a video. And, it was funny. You actually texted me because the one texted you thought it was like some kind of scam or something. But it was pretty cool. Keeping in touch with some of the people that I haven't heard from, Sam, Katie, and those girls. But it was cool hearing from girls that I didn't necessarily know. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and Ananda's the one that wanted to, she wanted verification that it was something legitimate. And she sent that video. I'll tell you, she became one heck of a high school player. She wasn't somebody that, picked up basketball until later in life. And, just to see her grow as a player and a person, was pretty cool. Cause a lot of girls, as they're coming up, I mean, Destiny scored 52 points in 8th grade in a game,
sure,
that I was at. So a lot of girls, what they're going to be as players. But Ananda was one that, she made herself with hard work and, buying into the system. She made herself a really good high school and a college level basketball player. So it's cool to see that from her also.
Absolutely. Before we end the show, Coach, I always ask this: who is Coach Force for the listeners and viewers who might not know you? Who is Coach Paul Force?
I just try to, be the best that I can in whatever role that I'm playing. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, so I try to compartmentalize the best I can, and really take that lesson from Uncle Stan that I talked about, and another coach that I've met, Freeman Blade, who recently passed away. Uncle Stan and Freeman, they just really had the ability to be in the moment with you. I mean, it's hard to describe, but when you were with them, you really felt genuinely cared about, and you felt like you were the most important thing in that moment. It was never like, hey, I'm too busy, I got to check my phone, or I'm too busy getting ready for the game. So I really try to emulate that with my wife, with my kids, in my classroom, with my players, regardless of what else is going on in the world. I don't care if we just lost a gut-wrenching game. When I walk through the doors of my house, I want to be the best dad and husband I can be. When I see my brother and sister, I want to be the best sibling I can be. When I walk into the school the next day, I don't want my first period kids like, hey, what's wrong, Mr. Force? Like, why are you in a bad mood? I want to be present. I've taken that from Uncle Stan and Freeman, and I certainly haven't mastered it yet. We're all work in progress, but it's something that I strive for, just being present and being in the moment and making people feel special.
Sure. Well, Coach, I thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it. I also want to thank all of our listeners and viewers. I know a lot of people are excited because they saw another Eastlake North guy coming on, but I really appreciate your time, and I thank you. Tune in next week, but that's going to do it for now for episode 1 of the Coach's Approach. As always, I'm George Gresco, and we'll see you guys later.